Good evening, ladies.
Kavod Haraf, how are you?
Thank God.
Good
Baruch
evening.
Hashem.
Okay, we're going to start with Tet. It says, "Lo itpalel ela bebet hakneset." Im hatzibur, right? So it says a person should pray where? In the synagogue with the community. De'amar Rabbi Yochanan en tfilato shel adam mishmat, because Rabbi Yochanan said, right? There's the Gemara there in Masechet Brachot. The person's prayer is only heard where? In the Bet Knesset, in the shul. Perush, that means Ima Tzibur, with the community. That's what it means. Amar Rav Nachman. Says Rav Nachman, Asur lo l'adam, person is forbidden, says, She'akdim tfilato letfilat tzibur. He's not allowed to pray before the community. But tzibur, shanu, talking about that he's with the community. Pilu anus, she'no yachol lelech lebet knesset, tov lo. So it says that, what does that mean? Even if he's not able to go to the synagogue, tov lo shechaven hashah shel tzibur mitpalin. Anyway, you should try to pray at the same time that the community is praying. But Zichtiv, Vani tfilati lecha Adonai et ratzon. With Darshinan, Ematai hu et ratzon. So the rabbis darshan this verse. When is the time of that the prayers are desirable? B'shah shel tzibur mitpalin. The time where the people are praying, the community. Another one it says, right? Says Rish Lakish, Kol mi sheyesh lo bet knesset beiro. Whoever has a synagogue in his town, doesn't go inside there, to pray. He's called a bad neighbor. Not only that, he causes also, right? He says exile for himself and his children. Okay, that's a different story there. We'll continue with the Bet Yosef. So it says Bet Yosef here, Perek Kama de Brachot. Where is the source for this? First Perek of Brachot. The Bet Knesset Kamar. So the Torah explains, right, that we're talking here about when we say a synagogue, we mean Haynu Matzibur, with the community. So implies from his words, Shem Eno Mitpalel. That if he doesn't pray with the community, so now we don't really care if he's praying in a synagogue or some other place. But Rabbeinu Yonah says differently. Katab b'shem haGeonim, right? His name of Geonim. Even if the community is not praying right now at the synagogue, you should still try to pray in the synagogue. Because it's something fixed. It's made especially for prayers. This is also we're going to explain in this chapter. What does the person need to know to do in order to go to pray with the community? Okay, very good. So that's the Beit Yosef. Let's see Shulchan Aruch. So says Shulchan Aruch, ישתדל אדם להתפלל בבית כנסת. Person should always try to pray in the synagogue, עם הציבור, with the community. ואם הוא אנוס, he's not able to do so for some reason, right? שאינו יכול לבוא לבית כנסת, he's not able to come to the shul, יכוון להתפלל בשעת שהציבור מתפללים. At least you should try to pray at the time where the community is praying. והוא הדין בני אדם הדרים בשובים. So also the same thing applies to people who live in like the outskirts, places where there's no synagogue there. ואין להם מניין, they don't have מניין there. כל מקום, יתפללו בשחרית וערבית בזמן שהציבור מתפללים. What they should do is pray at the same time where the community is praying. Right? So the truth is, in a place like New York, or if you go to Israel, Jerusalem, whatever, and Tel Aviv is a little bit less, but Bnei Brak, places like this. So the rule is over there that, anytime you pray, there's going to be somebody praying, some community praying over there at that time, almost any time, of the day. So Baruch Hashem, we have, that's why it's good to live in a Jewish community where there's a lot of things going on there, a lot of prayers, a lot of Torah study, so you can, be together with them and so forth and so on. Right? Feel like you're a part of it. So, as we said, right, basically, bottom line is like this. A person should try to go to synagogue. If he can't, right, so then at least he should try to pray at the same time the synagogue prays. Okay? And of course, we have to, mention, right, that the ladies are not obligated to go to synagogue. Only the men are. So even though, this halakha looks a little bit threatening, maybe, whatever, but it doesn't really apply to the women. The women don't go to shul to pray in a minyan. Once in a while, once in a blue moon, they go there, right? Whatever it is, on this holiday or that holiday, whatever. And that's it, they're not there every day. They're not there even there every week, so most women. So not the end of the world for the ladies. No big deal. Okay, very good. So that's the Shulchan Aruch here. Person should try to remember that. So what does that mean? Whenever you can go to shul, it's possible to go, you should go. And don't pray at home unless, there's a very, very, very good reason for that. I'm talking about for the men, obviously. Okay, good. So that's the story there. Let's go to Tet. Before we go there, right, there's one more thing here in the Shulchan Aruch. He says also, also, if a person, let's say he wasn't able to pray at the time where people are praying, and he's praying by himself. He says, nevertheless, he should still go to shul, and pray in the shul. So praying in the shul is beneficial, even if he doesn't have a minyan right now there. You should still go there and pray, because that place, it has holiness. It's made specially for prayers, So that's why the prayer is more accepted there. We're going to see more things about this, B'ezrat Hashem, soon. More issues that relate to this issue. Okay, so now we'll go to Yud.
Kavod Harav, I have a question.
Yes.
So yesterday you said that that if people are not praying to the east, because the way how the shul was built, the prayers, there's a problem with the prayers.
Yes.
So if he goes late to prayer, does that mess up his sanctity, even though the shul is not praying to the same direction as the east? Is that the...
So, what's the question?
Okay. So the question is that if the person could not make it on time to shul, right?
Yes.
Does that mess up with his sanctity if he could make it or not? That part of the question.
Well,
depending, I guess, how many times.
Right. I'm not really sure what you mean by messing up the sanctity.
Okay, so what
does that mean? What is that?
Okay. No, let me. What I'm getting is that men have to pray at the same time, ideally, unless he has to work and so on, right? So if he doesn't pray at the same time, would that mess up his sanctity? Would that mess up his avodat Hashem?
Well, Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so the answer is yeah. I mean, it's not going to be good if you don't go to minyan. It's you're going to have a problem with that. Even though I must tell you, there are some people who are like big rabbis who didn't go to minyan sometimes, for various reasons. There's a lot of things brought down, literature about that issue. For instance, for example, let's say, the minyan that you have, the synagogue is not a good synagogue. They talk over there, they do a lot of bad things there. So, it's like a bad influence sometimes, to be there.
Okay, I think that's what I mean.
If that's the case, that's something else. It could be, several reasons. Also, sometimes the big rabbis, they don't go to minyan because they're too busy studying. They're busy studying and they're busy, they don't have time to, to break up their studies to go to minyan. But the truth is, that I can tell you what the Rambam says. The Rambam says that even a person who's a scholar, he should go to minyan.
Okay. Yes, that's understandable.
That's one thing. And also the rabbi, I can tell you, my rabbi, he always was particular about that, to go to minyan. Even though he was a very big learner, he studied very, 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 very strong, very vehemently, day and night. But nevertheless, he always went to minyan. And what he did was, towards the end of his life, he made a shul, like right downstairs from him. So he, just a few steps away. So he wasn't going to shul, but he had his own shul, the building.
Okay.
So we used to pray there with him, together. So yeah, I mean, as we said, there can be some good reasons sometimes where a person doesn't want to go to shul for a certain reason. But as a general rule, if you don't go to shul, your prayers are not going to be so effective.
Even though, given the circumstances that we just spoke about, that it's not a good shul and so on.
Yeah, so as I said, I think that a person who has issues with this should speak with his rabbi, and see if his rabbi agrees with him, what he thinks, these things, whatever. But as a general rule, a person shouldn't skip minyanim, just go praying by himself.
Okay.
He has to have a very, very, very good reason for that.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm not talking about the ladies now.
No, yes, I understand.
You understand, right? Okay, good. So that's the idea. So why is that? The rabbi tells us, Maran Rabbi, he used to tell us that, even if the whole minyan is reshaim, they're sinners, right? Nevertheless, their prayer is accepted. Why? Because they're praying with a minyan. You know what I mean? So what happens is that when there's a minyan, the Shekhinah is there, the divine presence is there. So what that means is that if a person wants to have his prayer accepted without a minyan, he has to, be very skillful. He has to have a lot of skills in prayer for that. So, that usually people don't have this skill to pray like that, to be so effective in prayers. Sometimes they can't concentrate, all kinds of things. So the thing is that if a person is praying with a minyan, even if he can't concentrate, the prayer still gets accepted. But if he's praying at home with no concentration, his prayer is not accepted.
Okay. And
so, yeah.
And so the minyan, and what if in the minyan, some of them are not Shomer Shabbat? Would that also, or this?
That's a big discussion in itself, if they're Shomer Shabbat, they're not Shomer Shabbat. So the truth is, that as a general rule, somebody who breaks Shabbat in public doesn't count in a minyan.
Yes, okay.
This is the halakha, Okay. So that's why you don't want to pray in a minyan like that. Whereas people, people who are secular, we call that the drive-in minyan, they drive in on Shabbat, they have their parking lot there, and they drive in, things like this. We don't want that. That's not we don't want to pray in a shul like that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, if you have a drive-in minyan, so then drive away from there. That's what you should do. Go to a different place. Right, that's the idea. Okay. So, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so let's go to Yud. So it says over here, it brings this from the Gemara, the tour, right? So says Rav Nachman in the Gemara, a person should not precede his prayer to the community. What does that mean? Start before they do. They shouldn't do that. Why? Because then he's not praying together with them, So that's the problem. So therefore, what a person should do is, start the Amidah together with the Tzibur. This is the proper way to do it. At the same time, like everybody else. And this way, right, you're all together with them, all together. But if you start earlier than them, so then, it's like you're going on your own. That's not good. So it says, and also in the Tzibur Shanu it says, right? What does that mean? We're talking about Tzibur. We're talking about in the community. So if you're in the community, you're in the shul, together with the community, don't start the Amidah before they do. By the way, there are some people who like to start a little bit early. You know why that is? They say, well, it takes me a little bit longer, so I want to, finish together with them and then do the Kiddusha together with them. Because otherwise I'm going to miss it. If so they start a little bit early because of that. And that's okay, if they want to start a little bit early, for that purpose of, keeping up with them afterwards, it's okay, that's okay. But the truth is, there's no need for that. If a person, prays long, you can just keep on praying, after everybody finished. What do you care? Keep on praying, So a person can do that. It's not a problem. If he likes to pray long, he can go on longer, and he'll miss the Kiddusha, okay, whatever, but, that's okay, because he's doing something else. He's doing a different mitzvah, so that's fine. So either way, right, bottom line is that, but as a general rule, though, a person shouldn't start before the community. Start together with them, and this is the proper way to do. So says Bet Yosef regarding that, Perek Tfilat HaShachar, that's the source, right, in Gemara Brachot, Katav Rabbeinu Yonah, says Rabbeinu Yonah, Klomar, Kashe'omed B'Bet Knesset. He says, when you're standing in a synagogue, don't start before them, right? Why is that? Because the prayer of the community is more desirable for Hashem. But he says something else now, right? This is an exclusion for that, right? This is a way that you can sometimes be lenient. He's saying over here, if he sees, right, that the time is running out, right? And the community is late. They're praying too late. As we said, right, there are a lot of places like this, the Hasidic, synagogues, where they pray very late over there. So if you see, right, that they're going very late, and they're going to start the Shachrit very late after the time of Tefillah is already over, which is about here in this area, in this time of year, it's about 10:30 here, something like that. Okay, so if you see that it's going past that, and they're going to start late, then pray by yourself. It's better. In other words, it's better to pray by yourself at the right time than to pray with the community at the wrong time. That's what he's saying. So then he goes on. The Gamma Kolbo, he says also Kolbo Katav. He writes, the Kadesh Yitpalel Tfilah Be'onata. Also, he writes this, right? Same thing. If a person wants to pray at the right time, Shareh, it's allowed to precede them. Rabbeinu Katav B'Siman Taf Reish Chav. Rabbeinu writes the tour. Rosh Kishaya Ro'esh Shayu Macharim. So he says the Rosh, if you'll see that they were praying late, on Yom Kippur, because in Yom Kippur the prayers are very long. So they were going really late. Hayam Mitpalel Musaf Yachid. Oh, look what it says, right? He would do the Musaf by himself. Why is that? Because he didn't want to pray after the time. After the proper time. Musaf also has a certain time limit. What is the time limit for Musaf, by the way? Until the 7th hour of the day, right? A person is already supposed to pray Musaf. he shouldn't go past that lechatchila. B'diavad, if he went past that, he can still do it. But he should do mincha first and then do musaf after, right? As long as he does it before the night. But so that's what he's saying, right? That the Rosh would pray by himself, the musaf, in order to do it the right time. This happened to me, by the way, a couple of times. I was in shul over here, and for Yom Kippur, they went very late, and the musaf was already too late. So what time is the last time for musaf? It's about 2:00 in the afternoon, right? More or less, depending on where you live. So they started musaf like 2:30. It was too late already. So I told them, I said, why are you doing this? It's not right. You got to do musaf at the right time. I always tell my friends, when I was in the shul of my rabbi, Maran Alav Shalom, Rav Ovadia, we used to finish musaf Yom Kippur 11:30. We were done already. We never went past 12 o'clock. 11:30 out the door. And Rosh Hashanah, we were out the door 10:30. Finished. On Shabbat, 9:15 out the door. 9:30 out the door. So we were always praying early, and on time. Everything was on time. Everything was bezrizut, with energy, right? Always moving along, not stopping, not wasting time. This is the proper way to do it. Okay, very good. So we'll go on a little bit. It says, רבנו כתב, סימן תפרש אחאב, שהראש כשהיה רואה שהיו מתפתחים ביום הכיפורים, היה מתפלל מוסף יחיד, כדי שנתפלל בזמנה. ואף על פי שאין בדבריו אחריה, so even though the words of the Rosh are not really 100% convincing, אם היה מתפלל בציבור, או שלא בציבור, ללמוד מדברי רבנו יונה, זה אפילו בציבור שרעי. Right, so we're not really sure if he was praying with the community or not, but either way, right, we learn from Rabbeinu Yonah says that even with the community can do that. So what does that mean? Even if you're inside the community and you're in the shul and you see that they're praying late, you can pray by yourself earlier because you got to do it on time. Okay, we have a little bit more Bet Yosef here. So it says Bet Yosef, even if he wasn't able to come, he's not able to go to shul. So he says, at least as we said, right, that at least you should try to pray at the time where they're praying. So it says Bet Yosef, he brings a source for this. Perek Kama de Brachot. It's in the first break of Brachot, Zayin Amud Bet. Amar le Rabbi Yitzchak le Rabbi Nachman. This rabbi tells this rabbi, my tama lo ate mor lebek nishta. Tells him, it tells him his friend, right? Why didn't you come to shul today to pray with us? What happened to you? Amar le lo yachilna. So it tells him, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to come today. Rashi explains, right? Tash kochi. So he told him, right, that I'm weak, I don't feel good, so I couldn't come. These rabbis were old, they're old men. So sometimes, they're not feeling good. When you get into old age, things change. Not like when you're a spring chicken, young guy, right? Not the same thing. So he tells him, I wasn't able to come, I was feeling weak. So it tells him, okay, fine, you couldn't make it to the minyan. I understand you, but at least, you should have found out what time they're praying and then prayed at the same time. So it tells him, what's the big deal if I do that? Asks him, right? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan said, he answers him, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, name Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. My dichtiv, what's it written? So we learned from this verse in Tehillim, when is the time that Hashem accepts the prayers? When the community is praying in the shul. Okay, very good. So we'll go to Shulchan Aruch. See what's going on there. Says Shulchan Aruch, כשעומד עם הציבור, אסור לו להקדים תפילתו לתפילת הציבור. Where he's praying with the community, he shouldn't precede his prayer to the community, right? To pray at the same time as them. Unless he says Hasha Oberet, unless the time is running out, as we said, right? The end, Hatzibur Mitpalin Lefi Shemarichim et Piyutimo or Sibachet. They're not praying at the right time, community, right? They're getting delayed. But it says if the time is not passing, it says in parentheses, Yitpalel Piyutim should pray those things that they do, those songs, whatever they do it, Tachnunim, Techinot im Hatzibur. So it says here in the parentheses something interesting, right? That which we said that you can precede them, and go earlier, is only if they're going to pray too late. But if they're on time, they're okay, So then go together with them, it's better. Even though they're doing some extra things there, some extra issues there going on. As long as they'll be on time, wait for them. Better to wait for them. And don't now start studying Torah, open your book, and read some Torah. No, you're praying now. Prayer is not a time for Torah, right? There's a time for everything. Prayer is prayer, Torah is Torah. Everything has its own time. Okay, that's the Shulchan Aruch here. Let's go back to the Bet Yosef. Okay, so says Bet Yosef, Amar Reish Lakish, right? Brings the Gemara. Says Reish Lakish, Kol mi sheyesh lo bet knesset beiro. Whoever has a synagogue in his town, right, and he doesn't show up there, right? He's called a sinner, right? That's what we just said in the Torah. Let's look at the Torah again one more time. Right. So it says Nikra Shachen, right? It's called a bad neighbor. Why is he called a bad neighbor? Not because he won't lend you a pound of sugar, right? Because he doesn't come to the shul. He's a bad neighbor. What does that mean? He's a bad neighbor to Hashem, right? He doesn't want to come to his house and pray in his house. Not only that, he causes to him and his children exile, right? He says also, you should run to go to the shul. That's a different story. Okay, let's look at the Bet Yosef. It says Bet Yosef. Where's the source for this? It says, Kama de Brachot. It's in the first parak of Brachot. Okay, that's very simple. So we'll see the Shulchan Aruch here. It says Shulchan Aruch. Mi sheyesh lo bet knesset beiro. The person has a synagogue in his town. Ve'eno nichnas bo. He doesn't go in there. To pray there. Nikra shachen ra. It's called a bad neighbor. Begorem galut lo vanav. And he causes exile to himself and his children. So you see from there, right, it's a very serious thing. We got one more Shulchan Aruch here. Let's go. So it says, mitzvah lerutz le'b'knesset b'knesset. It says a mitzvah to run to the shul. And also, for every mitzvah, right, should try to run to do the mitzvah. Afilu b'Shabbat, even on Shabbat, shasur l'psoa pesiyah gasa. You're not allowed to take big steps on Shabbat to run like that. So even on Shabbat you can run from mitzvah. But he says, right, when you come out of the shul, you shouldn't run. Why? Because it looks like you're trying to run away from Hashem. So you shouldn't run out of the shul. Disrespectful. Okay, so that's Yud Bet in the Shulchan Aruch. Let's see what else we got here.
I do have a comment, Rabbi. It's like wanting to end Shabbat early when you're wanting to leave the synagogue fast. When you're trying to leave the shul fast, it's like wanting Shabbat to be over soon, and you're not supposed to.
Yeah, similar. Sure. Asur. Okay, very good. So we're done with that. Let's continue in the Bet Yosef. Another thing, interesting thing, right, that we learn here. It says "Mutar larukba," right? You're allowed to spit. It says in the synagogue. Right? What does that mean to spit? Sometimes, especially in the old days. Today, not so much, But I remember also, the older generations, they used to spit a lot because they had like phlegm coming out of their throat, and they needed to spit it out. So that's why they used to spit a lot. So it says over here, even though, by the way, in the Talmud, there's a machloket about this. We're going to get into this machloket. But anyway, right. And also another thing you have to know, that when we're talking here about the issue of spitting in the synagogue, we're talking about the old synagogues, they had like dirt floors. You know what I mean? They had a dirt floor. So in other words, it would get absorbed into the dirt. So it wasn't disgusting so much. You could just like absorb it into the dirt. And that's why it was allowed. But today, if you spit on the floor, it's going to be disgusting. So that's why a person, if he wants to spit today, he should go to the bathroom and spit over there, or the street or whatever, outside. Because today it looks disgusting like that. So anyway, right, let's see what it says here. V'chen katav Rambam. That's what it says in Rambam. Perek Aroeh, it's in the Gimar Brachot, Samech Bet Amud Bet. Yud Aleph Milchot B'Tfilah. Okay, so then it goes on. So he says, right, that because of the honor of the synagogue, if he needs to spit like that, what he should do is press it down with his feet, right? So as we start, right, in those days they had like dirt floors. So therefore, if you would just press it down, it would get absorbed, into the floor. So you couldn't really see it. And this is why they were more lenient about it. Today, as we said, we have tiles, we have carpets, so it's not really the same thing. If you spit, by the way, on the carpet in the synagogue, they'll probably throw you out of there. They'll probably eject you out of the synagogue. Today, the Rabbi will come and say, "Hey, what are you doing? This is an expensive carpet we have over here. Why are you spitting on the floor? What are you doing? You crazy?" Right, so that's what they'll tell you. Okay, so he goes on. He brings a source for this. Yerushalmi, Perek Misha Meto, Katvu Rabbeinu Yonah. It says Rabbeinu Yonah ve'Arosh. They wrote this. The so Perek Karoeh. End of this Perek. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Amar. Kerokek bet Knesset. Kerokek bet. I know. Look what it says, right? It says this rabbi says, whoever spits in the shul, it's like you're spitting in the eyes of God. God forbid, right? What can you imagine? Very disrespectful. That's what it says. Rabbi Yonatan Rakak v'shi'ef. Rabbi Yonatan, what he would do is he would spit, but he would then get it absorbed in the ground by pressing on it, with his foot, pressing it down. Katav Rashba says Rashba Perek Misha Meto. But let Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says we don't hold like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Asikna, because we concluded there Perek Aroeh in the Gemara Sheu Mutar, that it's allowed to spit. Mikom Makom Tzarich L'Shafshef, but it says you do have to press it down with your feet to rub it into the floor. And Rabbi Yonatan, like we said, Rabbi Yonatan Tehabala Ayre Talmud Adidan. So it says regarding that, the Talmud's not talking about that. Goes on, Umash Katav O Mechaseu Begami. Another option is you can cover it, with some something absorbent, right? So whatever, some reeds. Today you could take like a tissue, take a tissue and clean it up with the tissue. So in a case like that, Ken Katav Rabbeinu Yonah. That's what says Rabbeinu Yonah. Perek Misha Meto in this Gemara v'she'im yesh bebet knesset teven. So it says you have some hay in the synagogue. In those days they had hay in the synagogue, or gemi, or some kind of or reeds. Rokek alav, so you can spit on it. V'no tzarich l'shafshef. You don't have to press down. Sharei rekika mechusa begemi, because it's going to be covered with the reeds. Chen katav shama Rashba. That's what it says in Rashba. B'shem Ravad, the name of the Rabbah. Okay, so as we said, right, that the rule is that it's allowed, but as we said today, it's a little bit different because we don't have dirt floors like they had in those days, But I can see, that if a person, really, really needs to spit and he can't go out, So what he could do is, like use a tissue, to clean it up. The truth is, nowadays what people do is they just spit right into the tissue, which is much better. Instead of spitting on the floor, spit into your tissue, and that solves the problem. Throw it away. But that's much better. Okay, so let's see the Shulchan Aruch here. It says Shulchan Aruch, says you're allowed to spit in the synagogue, but then you should like press it down with your foot, or or cover it with some reeds, right? As we said. Today we use tissues, right? Whatever, it's something like that. Paper towels, whatever, something like that. You cover it up, clean it out, and you're fine. Right? That's the idea. So but according to today's derech eretz, today's culture, it's not proper to do this. So the proper thing to do, spit into your tissue, and or go to the bathroom and spit out over there, or go to the street, and spit out over there. Otherwise, people are gonna look at you funny. Okay, that's pretty clear. It's not so common, by the way, today. Honestly, like I've been around, many synagogues, and even the synagogues which are not very religious, but I never saw anybody spitting in the synagogue. Never such a thing that even the most non-religious person today doesn't spit in the synagogue. You know what I mean? So it's not really accepted today. That's the thing. It's not considered to be acceptable in today's culture. Okay, you get the point. But anyway, technically speaking, if he did it, he did it. I mean, it's allowed, as we said, right? It's allowed. But not recommended. Okay. Good. Let's go on. We're going into 14. Yud Daled. So it says here, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, says this rabbi, Leolam yashkim adam v'knesset kadesh shemanei asar rishonim. This is also important halakha, right? That is very. This has a lot of benefits. This halakha. It says, right, a person should go early to the synagogue. You should be like the first 10 men who come there. In the first 10. It's considered to be a big mitzvah to do this. By the way, it talks in the Zohar Kadosh about this. That it's really important. Why? Because those first 10 men that come into the shul, they're the ones who bring the Shekhinah to the shul. So they're doing like a special role there. They're bringing the presence of Hashem into the synagogue. It's a beautiful thing to do. So it's considered to be like your prayer is stronger because you're like the foundation of the whole prayer there because you came early. Okay, very good. So that's also an important thing to know. Where is the source for this? It says Bet Yosef, the Perek Shlosha She'achlu. It's over there in the Brachot, Mem Zayin Amud Bet. Right? And by the way, there's also another thing that they say that it's also mitzvah to be the first one, even, the first guy. That's also a special mitzvah. The first guy gets the biggest mitzvah out of all of them. But the first 10 is like the real, important thing. If you're in the first 10. You're bringing the Shekhinah into the shul. Then he goes on, Bet Yosef, one more thing here. So Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi would say to his children, like this, go early to the synagogue. And also, so what does that mean? He would tell them, go early and leave late, right? In other words, leave late at night. So what was he referring to? He was telling them, right, go early to pray early, and then learn, right, all day there, and learn all day Torah, and then be the last one to go out, because you're learning all day and night. So you're the last one to leave. That's also a big thing. The last guy to go out. Right? Because he's learning Torah there. Oh, that's a big thing. Right? So it tells them, so he says, right, explains the Torah. The reason why I told them this is that a person who goes early to the synagogue and leaves late, right, he'll have long life. Hashem will give him longevity because he comes to the synagogue. I remember there was one, in my shul over here in Queens, when I was growing up here, when I was younger, there was one older guy there, who used to come like every day, very early, and he was a very humble man, very, very simple, good Jew, very devout Jew, and very good manners. And he died at a very late age. He lived like 100 years old. So probably the zechut that he was coming there and praying, every day early, and it's probably what gave him the zechut to live so long. Besides the fact that he was a tzaddik, he had also a very good personality, very good character. Humility. It's good to be humble. Okay, very good. So that's the story there. Let's go to Bet Yosef. We did the Bet Yosef. So now we'll go to Shulchan Aruch. Yud Daled. So it says there in Shulchan Aruch, Yashkim Adam Bet Knesset, right? A person should go early to the synagogue. You should be the first 10 guys who comes in there. That's the big thing, So when he does that, as we said, right, he's the foundation of the minyan. The Shekhinah is resting on his shoulders there, So therefore, he has a big zechut. He has a big merit when he does that. Okay, beautiful. So how much time do we have here? We got another 10 minutes or so. So we can go on. To Tetvav. It says here, let's say two people came into the shul. And one of them finished his prayers before his friend. Let's sit, and he went out quickly. He didn't wait for his friend. And tfilato mishmat. He says his prayers are not heard. Why is that? Because he didn't wait for his friend. But it says if he waited for him, he has a lot of reward for that. So Rach explains, right? What does that mean? That was in those days, he says, this whole thing. Why? Because their synagogues were in the field, right? In the forests. And over there's a lot of danger, involved there. Can be attacked by all kinds of demons. But some say even in hours, right, at night, you have to wait. It says the Ri used to wait even in hours in the daytime. Wow. There you go. Okay, so let's see Bet Yosef here. Says Bet Yosef, as we said, right, two people came into the shul. Sham, it's over there in the Gemara, Hey Amud Bet. Katav Rabbeinu Yonah. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, same thing also applies if several people came in, right, into the shul. Knesset. Even though they didn't come in together, but those that are left there, in the end, one should wait for his fellow. But he says if he came in late at a time where he can't finish with them, he's not obligated then his friend to wait for him because he came late. Because since he knows that he can't finish with them, and he came in, so he revealed the he came in knowing that they're not going to wait for him. So he's not afraid. If he's going to be the last one out of there. He writes further, that which we say that his friend is obligated, that he has to wait for him, that's only if he's not like praying very long, He's not one of these guys who likes to pray long. But if he's standing there, and praying extra things which are not part of the prayers, he's doing all kinds of supplications and all kinds of, some people like to go at the end of the prayer, go to the Bima where the Sefer Torah is, and stand there, and pray to God, whatever, all kinds of stuff. So that's not a part of the repertoire. We're talking about just the regular prayers. But once the person starts doing extra prayers, we're not obligated to wait for him anymore. That's the end of it. Now what Rabbeinu explained, B'Shem Rabbeinu Hananel, the name of the Rach, Ken Katvu Rabbeinu Yonah, that's what it says Rabbeinu Yonah, B'Shimon his name, Ken Katvu Tosfot, also Tosfot, B'Shem Rabbeinu Tam, name Rabbeinu Tam, Ve'arif Katav. The Rif writes, Ha Perushu Rabbanan, Ve'okmua B'Tfilat Arabit. They're talking about, this halakha is talking about the evening prayer, because it's dangerous at night, to walk by yourself home. Because if he leaves them there by himself, and he goes out, we're afraid he's going to get into danger like that. So the truth is, it really depends on where you live. Like some places are dangerous, the shul, where the shul is. Some places are not so dangerous, so it's not really danger there. Anyway, right, go on. So he says the Ri was stringent, and he would wait even in our shuls, which are not in the forests, and also even in the daytime. He says from Tosfot, the mishum chumra bi'alma haya. He was doing a stringency, and he knew this was not the halakha, but he was being stringent about it. And also the Mordechai says, Katav, he also wrote, Ri haya machamir, that the Ri was being stringent, even in our shul. He was going long in prayers until everybody leaves. So he says, if meanwhile somebody would come to synagogue, he would start reading a book, something, a Torah book, until that guy finishes his prayers. It says it's proper for us also to be stringent about that. Not obligation, but proper. But it says Rabbeinu Yonah Katav. He writes, so he says, right, that even in the synagogues which are in the shul, that still this din exists, he says. Because he says, why? Because when a person prays alone by himself, that he gets mixed up with prayers. So Rabbeinu Yonah says the reason you should wait for him is because otherwise he won't be able to concentrate praying by himself. That's very interesting. Okay, very good. So let's see the Shulchan Aruch here. Says Shulchan Aruch, so he says if a person got left over in the shul, and he's praying longer, and we're talking about the synagogues in the field, right? Or even in the town. So he says if it's Arvit, which is the night prayer, we pray. He says he's obligated to wait for him. So there you go, right? Shulchan Aruch says that even if it's in the city, if we're talking about Arvit at night, he should really wait. He's obligated. Until he finishes his prayers. Why? So he shouldn't get mixed up, lose his concentration. Says in parentheses, some are stringent, even in the daytime. Right? Like we said, like the Ri was, the Machmir. And even in our synagogues, which are in the town. So he says, so he says, if he is doing supplications and all kinds of requests from Hashem, and we're not obligated to wait for him. So we're only obligated to wait if he is praying normal prayers, like the normal stuff. But if he's doing, some extra stuff, how can you wait? How long can you wait for this guy, right? He may keep you there all night. So you can't wait that long. So whatever, right? But as we said, right, that the Ri was stringent about that. He would wait in any case, in any right situation, he would wait. So, but the halakha is not like that. Halakha is only if he's praying the normal prayers, and also only at night, and only in the city, but only in the field. But in the city, only at night. But in the field, it seems like you should wait in any case, because the field is right? It's dangerous there. There's nobody there. So he's going by himself. He could get attacked. Okay, so that's the story there. That's Tetvav. So we have a little bit more time. We'll continue a little bit. So it says over here in the Bet Yosef, Karsina Psachim, right? We have a Gemara in Psachim. Perek Elu Ovrin, over there, Mem Vav Amud Aleph, Veite Nami Perek Or Ve'otev. It's also in Chulin, Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. ודין אם צריך לחזר אחר מים לנטילת בשעת תפילת יתבאר בסימן צדיק ב'. So he says, what about the halacha regarding washing your hands, before the prayers? How far does a person have to go if he has no water to get some water to wash his hands before he prays? So we're going to talk about that in chapter 92, Tzadik Bet. B'siyati d'shmaya, right? We'll talk about that over there. Okay, so let's see the Shulchan Aruch here about that. He says in Shulchan Aruch, so he says if a person was left over by himself, we did this, right? We did this already, yeah. Next one. If he's going on the road, no, not this one. Probably this one. Let's see. Yeah. We did this one already. Okay, we'll go to, yeah, so there's no Shulchan Aruch here. We'll go to the next one, which is Yud Zayin. Tet Vav. Tet Zayin. Okay. Let's see Bet Yosef here. Says Bet Yosef. Well, yeah, I guess, okay, we have to do Shulchan Aruch, I'm sorry. Says Shulchan Aruch like this: if a person is going on the road, he came to a town, but he wants to sleep there. He wants to lodge in that town, right? He's on the road. If there's in front of him until 4 kilometers, in a place where they're praying over there in the minyan, he has to go there. And then behind him, he has to go back 1 mil, which is like a kilometer, in order to pray with a minyan. So again, right, let's get this straight. A person is going on the road, and he's taking a trip somewhere, and he's driving whatever, and he stops in a certain town. He wants to lodge there. He wants to, check into a hotel or something, or Airbnb, right, whatever. He wants to go in there and sleep there. And but now he has a choice, right? If he goes in front of him on his road where he's traveling, there's going to be until 4 kilometers synagogue. You can pray with the minyan. He should go. So he's obligated to go until 4 kilometers. But behind him, right, only one kilometer. In order to pray with the minyan. So what does that mean behind him? The road that he came on already. He came from there, which is not convenient for him to go there again because he already left there. So that's why they didn't obligate him to go so far. But by the way, this is also the halacha for us. For instance, let's say you live in a place, right, where there's no synagogue there so close by. So if it takes 1 mil, right, which is a kilometer, it takes about 18 minutes to walk that time. So the rule is, if you can get to the shul in 18 minutes, either by driving there with your car, or or walking there, if you can get there within 18 minutes, you're obligated to go. If you can't get there within that time, you're not obligated to go, right? That's the thing. So this is a general rule when it comes to minyan. So it's a good thing to know, right? This halakha, very practical. Okay, we got like 5 more minutes. Let's do a little bit more. Yud Zayin. So it says over here, Bet Yosef, Matzati Katuv B'Shem HaSefer Agudah. It says, I found written in this book, the tefillah, im yesh 10 ad dalad milim. Again, right, if you have 10 people until 4 kilometers, yamtin, you should wait. In other words, that time that it takes to walk that time. All the more so a person shouldn't get up early in the morning to leave the city. That they have minyan there, praying there. As long as you can get there to his destination before the day is over. He doesn't have to go by himself for prayers. Okay, interesting language. So let's see Shulchan Aruch here, what he says about this. Says Shulchan Aruch, Yesh mi shomer, there is one that says, Shemikol sheken shelo yashkim adam lalech be'ir, shemitpalim ba biyud. So he tells you like this, right? If you're in a city now, if you're in a town, and over there's a minyan there, and you need to travel to a different place. So he's telling you, right, don't get up early in the morning to travel and leave the town before you pray with the minyan, because, you have a minyan right there. So as long as you can get your destination before the day is over, what you should do is first pray with the minyan there in the city that you're in now, and then leave and go on your way, right? We already discussed, by the way, this before, earlier, that, this all depends on one thing, right? That here we're talking about a person who's traveling on his own timetable. He's got his own schedule. So he can do whatever he wants, So there, if he can do whatever he wants, he should wait till he prays with the minyan and then leave. But we said, right, that if we're talking about a caravan, or some kind of thing like that, or today, we have planes, or trains, right? So if you're going to miss the plane, by having to pray, wait for the minyan, then you can pray without the minyan, right? And go for the plane. Because the plane, if you miss it, you're going to have a big problem on your hands. So, right, if it's a matter of time for catching the plane or catching the train, and it comes at a certain time only, and if you miss it, right, you're going to have a problem. So then we don't force you to wait for the minyan, a case like that. But if you're on your own timetable, you can do whatever you feel like, and nobody can force you what to do. So then you should wait for the minyan, pray with the minyan, and then leave. This is the proper thing to do, because you're not going to find a minyan traveling on the road. If you have a minyan right there in the city, why not use it? Pray there and then leave and go on the road. Okay, very good. I guess we'll stop there. B'ezrat Hashem, thanks for coming. Be blessed with wealth, health, happiness, and Hashem should give you a good life, holiness, and happiness. And Chazak Baruch. We'll see you tomorrow. And be holy and happy. B'ezrat Hashem.
Amen.
Only blessings.
Thank you so much.
Chazak Baruch.
Thank you so much.